Welcome, beautiful people, and thank you for joining us on Till the Wheels Fall Off, a podcast by Two Faux Couple. I'm Matt.
And I'm Paige.
And we're here to inspire others, to bring you guys into our lives and tell you a little bit about our journey. Over 20 years together, we've learned a few things.
We're going to work toward being the best version of yourself possible. We're going to dig into building a positive mindset, discuss mental health, addiction recovery, improving fitness, building businesses, and insight into what it takes to navigate life today.
Welcome back to another episode of Till the Wheels Fall Off. I'm Matt.
I'm Paige.
We didn't cover this last week, and I can't believe we didn't.
I know.
We got to spend just a moment to thank you, the listener, you, the viewer, whether you're on YouTube, any podcast platform. Thank you for being a listener. Thank you for being a viewer. Thank you for following along with us. We reached 100,000 downloads, which is a milestone.
Woot woot.
Big milestone.
Yes, that was exciting.
And the growth has been, in the beginning, it's very slow. I think we got to 10,000 like near the end of last summer.
Yeah.
And then since in 7 months or so, we've 10x that.
Yeah.
So the message is catching on. And it's hard to describe what it feels like. It's amazing to have people follow along with us and listen to us. And we get the great reviews and the community's popping. But at the same time, it's really sad that there's so many people that are in need of this conversation, man.
Yeah.
It's just, it's sad. But it's not nothing that a podcast gets 100,000 downloads. I think we covered the stats a long time ago. Something like 95% of podcasts don't make it past, or maybe it's 90% of podcasts don't make it past 7 episodes.
You and your stats.
And then out of those that are left, the 10%, I think 90% don't make it past 20 episodes. So if you get like 21 episodes, you're in the top 1% of podcasters ever.
Yeah.
We're right about at 100 episodes, but 100,000 downloads, and just wanted to thank you all.
Yes.
Just wanted to thank you all. Like when we started this thing, it was like, let's have some cool conversations. Didn't know who would listen, just like our closest friends and family. And now it's been listened to on every continent but Antarctica.
Yeah.
Still waiting for our first Antarctica listener, but it's all over the place. It's worldwide, and it's amazing.
Well,
thank
our
you.
goal is to change the recovery world, and that's what we're doing and why we're here. And we're getting closer and closer to it every day.
It is so cool. So thank you so much for being a viewer, for being a listener. I think I foresee us in the not too distant future doing this full time. This is going to be what we do for a living. Our job is like having these cool conversations, guests and all kinds of stuff. We've got some awesome things planned for this year. We mentioned this at the end of last year. We'll have more guests this year, some cool conversations, some bigger things coming out. We've got the ad that we filmed coming out pretty soon. Should give us some more exposure in different spaces. And I'm excited to see what that brings.
Yep. So
excited to see what that brings. We've also got some meetups scheduled this year. Not on the calendar yet. We are still working through some of these dates.
What are you talking about?
Look, tentatively, the month of June could include as many as 4 meetups. Not 100% sure. One will be local to Texas from the area that we are in. Others across the country where we have the densest population of listeners and viewers. Yeah. Be looking out for that. Check out our social media accounts. You probably know what they are, but it's at @TWFO_couple, TWFO_couple for more updates on those.
Yes.
We've also still got sweatshirts available. We got merch. We got tons of stickers. We've got some sweatshirts left, not too many, available on our website, twofo.com. And then lastly here for our ads, the courses. Mm-hmm. We've got our miniature course. It is the first piece of the larger Independently Strong course pulled out as a sample, I guess. It's an appetizer, but it's also really helpful appetizer.
Got a really good worksheet and like videos in there that are going to help you start your healing journey.
Yeah, relationship evaluation. You also get access to the Teachable community. The courses are offered through Teachables, the platform we do this on. And the full course is still out there available and helping people. If you are ready, if you are tired of being stuck and you want an answer, independentlystrong.com. Yep. Check it out. Wheelies get a 75% discount with the code Wheelies75. That's Wheelies with an S, 75 at checkout for 75% off for a limited time. It is a founder's round, and there will be an end to that discount at some point.
Right.
Not sure exactly how much longer it's going to last.
Right.
But that's all we've got
lives,
here.
y'all.
So thank you all for listening, for being part of this, for your support. We see the messages and the DMs and the kind words, and I cannot tell you how much that means to us. Truly.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. As promised, we're going to further our conversation on overthinking.
Yeah. So last week we talked about overthinking basics.
Just in general.
Just like people who overthink, which is pretty common. And this one is going to be based on questions that we received within the community. I asked everybody to submit some questions on what they struggle with overthinking. And what I came to find, this is why we split this up, is that it's not necessarily overthinking that they're struggling with. It's a lot deeper than that. So we're going to get into it. We're going to answer some of the questions. There were so many, y'all. I couldn't pull out all of them, so I pulled out the best ones that I could think of at the moment.
The ones that made you go, ooh.
Yeah. And a lot of them were very similar, but these are the ones that I was like, okay, yeah, we can definitely touch on that. So
you said something interesting earlier,
yeah,
just a moment ago, that it's not just overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as simple as that.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of these conversations are taking very complex situations and problems, and they're distilling them down to terms like codependency or something like overthinking. But it's just not that simple. If it were that simple, the solution would be really easy and shows like this wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But it's not so simple. So we're going to dig into it. We're going to go a step further than some of the normal vernacular around this stuff, which is just overthinking, anxiety, codependent. It's so much more than that, man. And we've been saying this from the very beginning. Those words are nice because they help people relate to what's going on. It helps you find communities of people who are going through similar situations. But I think that they're too broad and generic. And I think the solutions they offer are ineffective.
Agreed.
Ineffective.
Yeah.
Simplest and nicest way I can put it.
Yeah.
No knock on anyone that has found hope or help through programs like Al-Anon or Codependence Anonymous, or maybe work with a therapist on topics like codependency. It's just our opinion and our perspective and our experience that it's much deeper than that.
Yeah.
So let's get into some of this overthinking stuff as it pertains to an addicted relationship.
Yes.
What are some of the questions you got back?
All right. So here's the first one. It's overthinking if the addiction is as bad as it seems. You want me to go on this?
Yeah, I'm just taking a sip of
water.
water.
I thought that you had like notes and you were going to do something.
I want to get your take on it first, though.
I don't even know why I'm asking you. I'm going to F this chicken, as we say.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you're asking this question, yes, it is as bad as it seems. I feel like addiction, education is lacking. And we get in these relationships and we think, oh, it's not as bad as it seems. Maybe it isn't as bad as it seems. Oh, excuse me. Because the people that you're speaking with are telling you, oh, it's not that bad. This is just normal. Like, it becomes normalized and minimized. And if you're asking this question, you are not overthinking that it's bad, because it is. It is as bad as it seems. If there is addiction involved, it is as bad as it seems. And that's just the reality of it.
You want to know how we handled this from the other side of the coin, from the addiction standpoint?
Oh, yes. Let's hear it.
So anytime we're at a treatment center, I go with this good friend of mine who's in recovery, and he's got this really funny but very obvious point that he makes. If at any point you have Googled signs of alcoholism or am I an alcoholic, there's a 99.9% chance that you are. Because normal people aren't Googling these sorts of things.
Right.
If you conversely, on the other side of that, if you're in a relationship with one of us, chances are it's absolutely as bad as it seems.
Yeah.
It's absolutely as bad as it seems. Like, there are criteria that can be met for alcoholism.
Yes.
Like the DSM-5 gives 11 criteria.
Okay.
And it is said that I think more than 2 of those is recommended or insinuated that you probably have a substance use disorder. I don't want to go through them all, but
I don't want to go through those.
But from the other side of this thing,
this is not about that.
If you're overthinking that it's as bad as it seems, it's as bad as it seems.
Yes, and here's the thing too: it's progressive.
Yes, it is.
So if they are not getting help at the moment, it may not seem that bad at the very beginning, but it is going to get worse. It almost always gets worse. I don't like using absolutes, but this is the truth. If there's no change or any type of recovery happening, it is going to get worse. So yes, it may not be as bad as it seems in the moment, but it will be eventually.
The book, Alcoholics Anonymous book, and I'm trying to recall. I don't have it here in front of me, but I'm almost positive that it does use an absolute when it comes to the progressive nature of alcoholism and addiction. It says that it gets worse, never better over time.
Okay.
Never.
So that's okay. I can be using these absolutes in this situation.
My experience personally, in over a decade of this, I've never seen it get better.
Okay. Yeah. And that's what I mean too, because I've seen it in all sorts of ways too. And if there's no help, if there's no, progress, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah. So if you're having the thoughts already, and likely these thoughts came from a very sound place, right? So you identified some problematic behaviors, but I think that we're all guilty of this. We all feel like it would be different in reality. What I mean by that is, like, let's say you're an alcoholic. Like for me, I'm an alcoholic. It's so easy, and a lot of us get stuck in this trap where you can compare out and say, but I haven't lost my license yet, or
yes.
I haven't lost my family yet.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that bad.
No.
It's just not that bad.
Right.
It's not that bad yet.
Yet.
It will get to that point.
Yes.
You've identified some of the early symptoms, which is good. It's like, you ever seen a foundation repair commercial? Like, hey, have you noticed that your doors are sticking, or that something like these weird things are happening? Well, these are signs of a larger problem that's going to get worse over time.
Yeah.
It's
Pay
important.
attention.
It's important to recognize these early symptoms and to say, but a lot of people are going to look at this and say, well, I just always assumed, or I've looked out and I watch movies and you see how hopeless addiction can be. And I just,
it's not like the movies, y'all.
It's whatever that is. It's not what I'm going through, but it is.
It is.
But it is. This is what it feels like.
Yes.
This is what it's like.
For sure.
This is the tip of the iceberg, though. It gets worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not overthinking.
You're not overthinking this.
So I'm going to go to the second one. How can you tell if it's overthinking or gut instinct?
This is good.
This question was brought up a lot, and I've had this question it's been brought up a lot even throughout this whole TUFO experience, and I haven't really touched on it too much. But your gut instinct is an immediate response. Your body is going to feel a warmth, a punch, we all know what it feels like. It's almost a trigger, you're feeling this like, and it's a sensation. If you're overthinking something, that's mental, and it's not necessarily a feeling that's overpowering. It's just a thought process that's going on over and over again in your head.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, you can make yourself sick though. You can make yourself have that gut feeling if you think about it over and over and over and over again. But the gut instinct, that is your initial reaction, and it's a feeling that you have.
Yeah, gut instincts are powerful.
Yeah.
I was reading a lot about this last week, and they talk about how the subconscious mind has a way of communicating to our bodies when we recognize something that's out of place. And we often refer to these things as gut instincts, or just instincts, or intuition. Your brain has done billions and billions of calculations on this problem underneath the surface without you even realizing it. Mm-hmm. And when the moment comes that you've noticed something, it will let you know. And we, like you mentioned, we all know that feeling. Like when you've identified like, ooh, something's not right with this. Mm-hmm. It could be a red flag that you recognize. It could be anything. Let's say that you've got someone in your family and you're just not comfortable with your kids around them. You're not 100% sure why, but you know something's not right. In those moments, when it comes up, you will know. Yeah. You will know. Your body will tell you, nope, this isn't right.
Right.
But then what we'll do is we second guess it.
Yes.
And we take it a step
and we try
further.
To rationalize.
Then it turns into overthinking.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that was good.
Yeah. And like anxiety and gut instincts are similar, but they're different. And you mentioned it. Like a gut feeling is not an anxious type of feeling. It's an aha type of feeling.
Yes. Yeah.
So much different
it's like,
from the way it feels, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel scary. It feels very confident. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can feel a little bit jarring because you're like, ooh, I just recognize something like, this is a hard thing to talk about. Like I just recognize like there's a problem here. Yeah. But the anxiety is totally different. We all know what anxiety feels like. Sometimes it's just ambient and just hangs in the air and it just wears on us. But it can be chronic where it's happening all day, every day. That is not the same as that initial aha moment that you have from a gut instinct. Yeah. Wheelies, I've never met one that didn't have strong intuition and strong gut instincts. A lot of our listeners are mothers or women, and I believe that women have really, really good
they're powerful
instincts. And I don't have any data to support this. I'm sure someone's done it, but it's just been my experience that it's always on. It's always on the money.
Yeah, and our instincts come up based on patterns of behavior that have happened throughout our life and relationships.
Yes.
It's about a pattern. So you're not overthinking things. Like we are supposed to pick up on patterns in our lives to protect ourselves. And that's what your instinct is doing. It is picking up on a pattern and telling you, oh, something's not right here. We need to focus on survival.
Exactly. Like the mind is doing those calculations and it's keeping score and it's keeping tabs and it's remembering the patterns. It will remind you in sometimes subtle ways. It's not always like top of mind, like very front of your brain. Like I'm conscious of what's happening. It starts as a little aha feeling. You're like, ooh, let's listen to that.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Yep.
I just recognized something that was weird. And it's really tough to begin to trust yourself again, which is like our course aims to accomplish. Like the journey of empowerment is so powerful because it's about getting to like, who am I again? Like trusting myself again, being able to trust when I have a thought that it's backed from a place of reason and factual information, calculations that are done by my brain, not by what some lunatic is telling me is right or wrong.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's the reason you feel like you can't trust your gut instinct is because you're with somebody who's telling you you're wrong all the time. And that will make anybody question themselves.
Yeah, pattern recognition is huge. Yeah. And the relationship evaluation in the beginning, that first part of the course that we've released, the mini course, is a pattern recognition exercise.
Yes, it is.
That is the point of it.
Yep.
Let's recognize some patterns. Let's go through it and let's see it. This happens subconsciously most of the time, but to actually do the work and put it into practice, pen to paper.
Put it on paper.
Let's write it out. It's undeniable at this point. Like you're looking at the patterns.
Right.
Patterns are huge. Patterns tell a story.
You got to pay attention to them.
Yes, you do.
All right. So the next question is being a single parent easier than feeling like one in a marriage?
That's a great question.
Yeah. And this is, somebody asked this question because they feel like they were overthinking it. And from experience, obviously I haven't been a single parent.
You felt like one.
But
though.
I have felt like one. And it was more difficult to parent when Matt was around and not like engaged. Like if you were sitting on the couch or just not even paying attention or whatever, and I'm over here doing stuff. That was probably more difficult than me being a single parent while he was away at treatment. Like it was easier when you were gone. It was easier. I had a weight lifted off of my shoulders. I did have help. Obviously, I was with my mom and stuff, but it was still easier that you weren't around with that added layer of drama.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So like you mentioned, we obviously have never been single parents, either one of us, like truly a single parent.
Right.
We split up from one another with like visitation rights and all that stuff. So I took to the internet and I explored message boards, different forums. I read several articles, probably a dozen in total from people that have done this though, that have left a bad situation for one reason or another. It wasn't always addiction. It could have been physical abuse. It could have been just relationship issues.
Yeah.
Like, how do they refer to that in divorces? I'm done.
Yeah.
Differences.
You sound like me.
Irreconcilable differences. They tell their stories, and I read through, and every single one said that it is easier to be a single parent than it was to feel like one.
Yeah.
Because the outcome is the same. You still have the same workload. You still have the same amount of stress. For many of them, they still had the same financial problems. Many of them, not all of them. But all those problems were still there. So ceteris paribus, all things equal, that stuff is going to be there. So net, it was easier to deal with someone who wasn't around causing more grief, resentment, and anxiety from not doing their job or yelling at you or screaming at you and causing fights while you were trying to get all this stuff done than it was just doing it on your own.
Yeah. And also a lot of people say that they're like parenting their spouse anyway. So you're just going to lose a kid.
On more than one occasion, you have called me your third child.
Yes. I think women in general do that.
Yeah. But so obviously not from a place of experience, but from relaying the experiences of others.
Yes.
Many do report that it is much easier, although painful in different ways, much easier on a day-to-day basis, not dealing with that.
Right.
The person who is gaslighting you or like another thing you really have to worry about and that affects the immediate safety of your children and you, all those things disappear.
Yeah, and like you said, the resentment, because you have a lot of resentment
Oh,
towards the
yeah.
other person.
Man, resentment
and
can eat you
that
alive.
will eat you up, and it will go into your children, and it sucks. It sucks. I know that feeling.
Yeah, so you can remove those pieces of it.
Yeah.
And it becomes easier on, like, net easier.
Right. Okay. The next one is, do I have the ability to leave due to financial reasons? So this person is overthinking that, which I think that this is probably very common across the board. But I know there are solutions to that. You know, we've met a lot of people who have had to leave even when they were not financially able or capable of doing so. But there were solutions to it.
There are solutions. This is a really, really tough one. And this is a practical reason that a lot of people stay in relationships.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too far off in the weeds here, but a lot of these relationships stay together for this reason. Mm-hmm. Where it is, I practically cannot pick up my stuff and my kids and leave because I haven't worked in however many years. I don't have a degree or work experience. I'm not going to be able to get a job to support myself and my children. And so the alternative is I will just stay and try to find a way to make this work. Mm-hmm. But that thought never leaves you. I think once you come to that place, it never quite leaves you. So you start to think of, okay, so how can I figure this out? In our community, if you're not already in their TUFO community, there are many people that have figured a way out of this. It starts small though.
Yes.
Very small.
Yes. This is where that like one day at a time really can apply, because you want all the answers to be able to fix it. But sometimes you just have to take that first step and get help and support. And there are people in there who can help you with that to figure out what you need to do to get there.
Think of it from a more common life experience. Let's say that you have a job that you absolutely hate, but it pays you well. A lot of Americans and people around the world find themselves in this world too, myself included.
Did you see my face?
Yeah. Where you're working a job and you've sort of got like these golden handcuffs where it pays well, you like the lifestyle that comes with it, but you're absolutely miserable. And it's like, well, how much is it worth it? And you can find a million ways to make yourself comfortable in it and happy in it over time. But I find that they all have an expiration date, and it will ultimately always go back to that place. Mm-hmm. So it's like for us, it's come to this place. It's like, could we live on much less and be happier? Yes. Is that worth it? It is now. At one point I could say it wasn't. Mm-hmm. At one point I was more than willing to accept the bad for the perceived good, which was income. It was a certain number, and it's like, okay, so we're happy here.
But it
I can deal with anything. It catches up. I think that I always thought there'd be a number I think we all feel this way. We always thought there'd be a number. It's like, if I could just make that number, I'll be happy. False. But no one's going to believe it until you do it yourself.
Yeah.
Like when we're kids, think about when you're graduating high school. It's like, if I could find a job that paid me $50K a year, dude, I'd be set. But then you become an adult and realize how expensive adulting is. And it's like, that's not a lot.
Yeah.
So then what do? You just increase the number. Mm-hmm. And each time you hit those numbers, you find yourself equally miserable, if not more miserable. There are ways out. You can do practical things like you can get side hustles. You can go back to school. You can set aside a savings account. You can, reach out to friends and family for help. Like there are options. There are things you can do, but this is not a problem that is solved today or tomorrow or the next day or the next day.
Yeah.
You can find yourself in these types of situations for many, many years actually, until you're able to finally get out. It's time plus pain equals change, right? Kind of, we talk about that a lot. Eventually you'll get in enough pain for a long period of time where you will just make the change, and you won't think twice about it, and you won't even think twice about it.
It'll be easier actually to just do it, because you're like, this is going to be so much better than what I've been dealing with.
But that is a process.
For sure. It does not happen overnight.
You could even write it down and be like, oh, it makes total sense, and still not be ready to do it.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's totally fine.
Absolutely. All right. The next one is this one.
This one pisses you off.
This one gets under my skin. Did I sign up for this? There were red flags. No, you did not sign up for this. You did not sign up for this. Everybody's going to find red flags. Okay. But like I said, there's not enough education on addiction and alcoholism and stuff where we don't realize the impact it's going to have on us in the future. You did not sign up for this. You didn't pick a partner like this. Like, none of us would have signed up for this. I would not have signed up for this life. And I had so many red flags. If you take the course, we talk about all of the red flags that I saw. But I did not.
I was a walking red flag.
Oh my God. He was a walking red flag. Seriously, there were so many. I mean, sometimes I do beat myself up because I'm like, oh my God, why did I not see it? But oh my gosh, Matt was so good at what he did. And it's true. Like addicts are really, really good at that charm, at that keeping you in. Like it will make you feel crazy. But no, you did not sign up for this. Don't ever think once that twice that you signed up for this. Don't think that.
Yeah. When we're dating, when we get into relationships, we put our best foot forward.
Mm-hmm.
Like we try to show people the best parts of ourselves. We're not going it's not
so true.
It's not like there are companies that, especially like car companies, like we are going to treat you right. We're going to give you a Carfax. We're going to show you where this car has been, all the issues with it up front. We'll sell you a warranty on it. Like they want to be like fully disclose everything. In dating, we don't play that game really. We don't show up in the first month and tell you everything that's wrong with us under the hood. Like we don't tell you about the squeaky wheel that comes up only when it's wet outside.
Yeah.
We don't tell you about like the cup holder that broke and we've just glued it back together. Like we're not disclosing these sorts of things. And like you mentioned, there's not enough education around the progressive nature of addiction and what these relationships can look like at some point.
Yeah.
So does anyone sign up for it? Arguably, I never signed up to be an addict either.
Right.
So it's not fair to say anyone signed up for this.
Yeah.
Because I didn't sign up for it and you didn't sign up for
Yeah.
it. But it happened. Here we are. But there's a lot of shame that comes with these types of relationships, especially from people who are either still in it, and they're really arrogant about it. Like a lot of addicts will do this, or people who have never been in it and they're just like women haters. I see a lot of men that come in like, you should know better. Like, they came.
Or why would you even in a relationship with an addict? They come after me all the time on TikTok, and it kind of cracks me up.
It's always dudes.
But also, I had somebody tell me before, and I'll never forget it. Like, you picked him, basically. Like, I have to deal with it, and I picked him, and I'm like, I did, but I didn't pick this life.
Dude,
and
this dude did not represent himself this way.
Yeah, and another thing is a lot of people who are in active addiction, and if they come from toxic families, they do not recognize how toxic the situation or the dynamics are. So you're not going to get into this relationship and them say, oh yeah, my family's just like so toxic and all of this, and this runs in my family, blah blah blah. You just don't talk about that stuff, and you don't think of it as being a red flag. You're like, oh well, maybe they do talk about it, and then you think, oh well, then maybe I can help him, or maybe I can be a good influence on him or something like that. And that's just not how it works.
Yeah, like we talked about the Michelangelo phenomenon. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where over time we sort of mold our partners to be the ideal partner that we've always wanted. And that happens bilaterally. Both people do this over time to where you become each other's ideal partners. You sort of mold each other over time. Yeah. That happens in relationships all the time. And it's very common. Talk to a couple that's been together for 60 years. Ask them what they're like today versus what they were like when they got together. Very, very, very different people. Yeah. We become softer over time, more willing to bend. Our ego is not as strong. We understand what's important, what's not. I think that so many people can beat themselves up for not recognizing those red flags. And when it comes to overthinking, you can sit there and second guess yourself to death. I should have seen this. I should have seen this. Not necessarily. It's a progressive thing. Yeah. You're not going to catch it in a position where it's really obvious. What if you met your partner? Let's say that, your partner is really bad right now. Let's say they've been to treatment 3 or 4 times. If you met them right now today in that state, I think you would be able to identify that. You would know. But early on, especially when we start dating in our 20s and whatnot, it hasn't gotten that bad yet. Stuff generally presents itself a little bit later. The stresses of life get worse. It becomes more obvious and harder to hide. At a certain time in life, it's totally acceptable and normal to drink and do drugs every once in a while. Like, I'm not saying it's okay, but I'm saying it's you can get away with it. No one's going to think twice about it. Yeah. But
a lot of people experiment with that.
A lot of people don't end up addicts either. So it's not fair to look at those and say, you should have seen the red flags. Like, dude, your husband was doing the same thing. Right. And he's fine. Like, what do you mean?
Well, look at me. I partied.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't go nearly as hard as you did when it came to things. Like, I was always a supervisor, but like I was able to grow out of it. I was a supervisor for y'all's little parties, remember?
Yeah. My trips.
But that was in our early 20s whenever people were experimenting, It's like, You don't think about that. And so no, you did not sign up for this.
No, man, like my best friends, like out of my group, I've had the same like core group of friends since I was like 6 or 7 years old.
Yeah.
We all partied together. I'm not implicating anyone, all right? So I can't confirm or deny that they participated in everything with me. But I will say I'm the only one that ended up an addict, and we all had the same quote unquote red flags because we all ran together and did the same things. So it's not fair to say there were red flags or for you to beat yourself up and say, why didn't I recognize those, and then overthink that stuff.
Yeah.
Not right.
No.
Give yourself a break. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all right.
We get worse over time. It's not your fault.
Yeah. All right. So is sober husband the true version or is drunk version?
Man.
And I know that this question and people overthink this all the time. I'm going to say neither.
What do you mean by neither?
Neither one of them is the true version of who you married. Your sober husband is going to be the person who's giving you all the highs, and it's going to be high. It's going to be like special love bombing, all the good stuff, everything that you hold on. It's the potential. Drunk version is going to be the total opposite of that, who's going to be the lowest of lows. If they were truly sober or like working on personal development and doing what they're supposed to be doing, they would be in between that. So you're not getting their true colors during sober period or drunk period.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like,
Perfect sense.
Like, do you agree with that?
I do.
We didn't discuss this question very much, so I didn't.
No, I absolutely agree with this. This is a question that you're right. You get a lot. A lot of
people say we're agreeable. So I'm just asking, is there something that this is,
I hope we're agreeable to some point, you know? We have a show about this and a relationship that works. So I think that we have to be agreeable to some point, but no, I agree with you here. What you're seeing are highlight reels and disaster reels. That's what you're basically seeing whenever you're with an addict or an alcoholic in active use. You're seeing someone at their worst and you're seeing them performatively at their best.
Performatively.
So it's this performance that we put on. A lot of times I felt a lot of guilt and sometimes shame for the ways that I'd acted, and I would recognize it. I could listen to you in your tears and so upset telling me of all this crap that I'd done that it hurt you. And I feel that, man. I feel horrible. So I need to make up for that. I need to make up for it syndrome kicks in. And then we become this performative like caricature of husband.
Oh, yeah. Like, oh, I'm going to read to the baby. I'll do bath time tonight. I'll make sure she goes to sleep. I'm going to feed her.
Yes.
I'll stay up all night so you can sleep. Yes. All of these
yes.
things happened. And that's why you start questioning a lot of things because of those highs. And you're like, oh, wow, maybe it isn't that bad. But it's performative, like you said. It's
performative in a lot of ways. We want to be better. A lot of us want to be better. A lot of us know deep down that we're screwed and we've got to be better. Sometimes I think we can take this like fake it till you make it sort of idea. And you know what? Let me just move past that stuff. I know what I need to be. Let me just be that person. But you're not that person. You're acting like that person. That's not really who you are. So when people say, I can't tell if what he says when he's drunk, if he actually means these things. Do the people actually mean the things they say when they're drunk? Whenever he's really sweet, is this the real him or is this just fake? You don't know what to think. You're looking at who they are. This is who they are.
Yes.
So when you say neither, I agree with that. Like the real authentic version of themselves. Yeah, it's both. That's the same person. Let's just get that out of the way. That's the same person. The person that berates you when they're drunk and the person that's overly kind when they're sober is the same person. I think humans, we love binary concepts. We love to be able to categorize good and bad, right or wrong, yes or no. And so when it comes to sober versus drunk, we love to be able to categorize that. Oh, that's just him when he's drunk. That's him when he's sober. False. It is not true. That is the same person. That is one bucket of him. That is him. That's who he is. The ups and the downs and everything that come with it. I think that we like a lot of people do this and it's funny and I don't think it's unhelpful by any means, but they'll give the addicted person a name. Like they'll call the addiction something. Yes. And it's hilarious. And it's true because it feels like you're dealing with a completely different person. But it's not the same as something like dissociative identity disorder, which is like multiple personality disorder. What was the name of that movie? God, I can't remember. There was a movie recently where a guy had like 4 or 5 personalities. And at any given point, he could be any of them. It's not like that. It's not like that. It's not like I am a completely different person with my own set of values and my own background and my own past experiences that never actually happened when I'm sober versus when I'm drunk. I'm the same person, right? So it's not a disassociation from your personality. That is your personality. The worst parts of it are often brought out when you're drunk and when you're using. You get to see those. They're on display for all to see. A lot of them aren't even intentional. It's just stuff that sort of happens.
Yeah.
And when we're sober, we're oftentimes trying to make up for those things. Or at times you can just be like a shadow of your authentic self. But the real person has yet to be seen. This person will come out at some point later. It's not going to be as good or as bad as those ups and downs that you see in active addiction. It's somewhere in between, like you mentioned.
Yes.
Absolutely. Normal people kind of hover around the mean, around the middle.
Yeah.
They're not on the tail ends of the distribution curve where it's super high, super low. We're somewhere in between. So you don't know what this person looks like yet, most likely. For us, let's just talk about what it looked like for us. So when I was in active use, I was completely detached. I was really, really selfish. Mm-hmm. I was a complete a-hole. I had zero to no empathy for you, no validation, no compassion. That was like the worst of me, right?
Yeah.
Liar, that whole bit.
Yeah.
The best of me when I was in active addiction was, let's be in all the Facebook photos. Let's appear to be the great dad. Let's take the daughter to the store when she's little bitty and show off about how good of a dad I am.
Oh, I got her to sleep tonight.
Oh, I did all these things. Let me bring home dinner tonight. Let me do all this stuff. How long did that stuff last?
Not long. It wasn't consistent.
Could I even do it for a week? I don't remember.
No. Oh, no.
So it was short-lived.
Yes,
short
but
bursts.
I remember them, and that's what's crazy. Is like I actually remember those specific times. It wasn't consistent.
Short bursts of performative empathy and performative compassion and performative, look at me, how great of a dad I am, and how great of a husband I am. Trying to be that person in so many ways, but also trying to make up for the wrongs that I had done. That's not authenticity. That's not the real me. The real me is much more balanced now.
In between. Yes.
I have a lot less of the really bad stuff, and I have more of the good stuff.
Yes.
So I would say on the whole, it's much more like the person that was performing, but not nearly as exaggerated.
Right.
You know, and I have far fewer like high highs. Like how often do I like just randomly go get flowers and bring them home?
Don't.
What do you mean? Yeah, I do.
What do you mean?
It's just less often.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I'll order flowers and have them sent over here with a funny note. I still do that.
Yes, you do
every
that.
few months or so, maybe
Yes.
a couple times a year.
Yes, but during active addiction, you did it a lot.
It was like monthly.
It was
monthly.
like whenever you were angry, it was a way for you to like, look what I did for you.
When I was doing whenever I would do dishes and stuff back then, how often did I do that?
Oh gosh.
Once every how often?
I don't even.
You can't even remember.
I can't even.
Now it's much more stable, right?
Yes, it's more consistent.
It's consistency. It's about consistency,
And it's not all the time, which is
Right.
fine. And it's not like going balls to the wall, being
Dude, it's just
100%
normal.
perfect.
That's
It's
the only way I can
just
describe it. It's like a
right.
normal
It's
person.
just normal. And then like you'll say, okay, I can't parent right now. I kind of need to, detach for a little bit. And that's okay. Like you can tell me those things and it's not all the time. And I can do the same thing for you. And it's like, I just need a break. So can you help me out here?
It's just balance. Like we've talked about this before. I don't want to spend too much more time here, but you're going to get a new person in the relationship.
Yeah.
They will be very familiar. It'll almost be like a cousin of your original husband. Like you can tell they're sort of related, but there's something different here.
It's different.
Like we got to know each other in a totally new way. A lot of it was just better. Like on the whole, net just gains and wins. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the other stuff that came with it, I had to come to terms with the fact that I'm actually a really emotional person. I wasn't as stoic as I'd like to think. I'm hyper emotional a lot of the time. I get really I have to try and not cry at commercials and movies all the time, man. Like daily I feel this. That's stuff that I just hid forever. Like
so weird.
There's a lot of stuff like that
for you
that you get now, and it's like, well, I guess that's part of it too.
Yeah.
So there are some parts, I guess I don't know, depending on who you are. Some may perceive that as negative. I don't. But some may be like, oh, I'm not interested in a guy that cries. Well, we have emotions too. You'll get some of that comes with it.
I think it's sweet.
You're going to get a totally new person, person, which should be an exciting thing. You don't want back the old person.
No, you don't. And we've talked about that before too. So.
Yeah. And everything else is like a highlight reel. You don't want that necessarily either.
Right.
That's not sustainable.
No.
No. I do
not.
know some dads and husbands that make us all look bad. Like it's just some dude, these guys are just rock stars. Like I don't know how they keep it up like that though, man. Like how does anyone, right? Like how do the rock star moms do it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think some people are just wired that way.
Maybe. Or we don't see everything.
In my experience,
honey.
that's a very, very, very small slice of the pie.
Yeah.
That are able to maintain that level of energy and consistency all the time.
Right.
They make us all feel bad.
Yeah.
They exist, but it's not common, right? You're probably not going to get back super like, man.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Anyway.
All right. So the next question is, how do you recondition yourself to not overthink and feel normal after so much trauma? So I'm assuming this question is coming after active addiction. It's not.
That's not how I took it.
Well, I
took this as someone who's in it currently, wanting to know what they can look forward to one day. Most people want answers for the future.
Okay, but it's really hard to not overthink and to feel normal if you're still having trauma in your relationship. If there's still active addiction going on, there's still going to be patterns of behavior that hasn't changed. And you cannot change your mindset to stop overthinking to feel normal if you're still in it. That's just the hard truth.
Yeah, this should be a daily reminder for us. Let's get it over with here real quick. Sobriety does not fix everything. Sobriety does not fix much of anything by itself. Sobriety only sets the stage for growth in the future.
Yes.
That's all it does. And that growth takes place over the course of years. It does not happen right away. And I can only imagine what it feels like to be in like your shoes and think to yourself, like, am I ever going to not be able to feel this way again? Yes, but only if there's sobriety. So like you said, if someone's still in it, all bets are off. Absolutely not. It's going to continue. You'll have good moments, bad moments, but more bad than good.
Yeah, and if this is if this question is happening, if like your partner is in recovery or whatnot, or maybe you're out of the relationship and you feel like you still overthink, it's going to take time, healing. You know, you've got to do a lot of self-work to help yourself feel normal again. Like I still have things that pop up. I don't think no one is ever fully healed. Like this is where your brain, like this stuff imprints on you, like you've said before. So
how did you recondition yourself to not do it?
For me, we did that episode on how I found myself again, and there's a lot of good information in there. Yeah. So, you know, going to therapy and mindfulness, meditation was huge for me. Doing like looking at my cognitive distortions, my self-awareness, spirituality, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Like, man, like one of the things we sought out to do was to help people find themselves again and begin to trust themselves again and be able to identify and then act on their intuition again. And that's sort of what's going on here. Like, how do you condition yourself to not overthink? First of all, you can't be in the situation that got you sick. That has to stop. Whether they stop or you've stopped participating in it, one of the two have to happen. You're not just going to fix this magically while they're still in it. That will be, I would say, impossible. Just go ahead and say impossible. But therapy helps a ton. Yep. And it takes a long period of time too.
It does. It takes time. It takes time.
Like we've talked about this. So Dr. Taylor, our good friend and also our partner in Independently Strong, I've asked him, like, if all things are going well, someone's showing up to their appointments on a regular basis, how long does it take to have breakthroughs? And he's like, I mean, generally about a year.
Yeah. I was going to say 6 months to a year.
A year.
That first year is rough.
That's like per breakthrough.
Yeah.
Like you might have one a year, you might have another one maybe 6 months later, and then another one 6 months after that, but it's slow.
I had a breakthrough last like few months whenever you like really started acknowledging my pain and taking accountability, and that was another
like on a different level.
Yeah. It was another layer of my healing that came apart. So yeah, it's going to take time. There is no like solution to this except for just working on yourself and making sure you're not being, traumatized over and over again.
Yeah. So how do you recondition yourself? I think validation is so important in the healing process. Yeah. So you can self-validate all you want. That's no different than like shouting affirmations in the mirror. Affirmations are helpful if you have evidence in your life that support those things. But you can't say I'm an astronaut every morning if you're not an astronaut.
Yeah.
It's never going to work. You can say these things, it doesn't make them true. I think that external validation is really where we can begin to heal, and therapy is a great place to do that. Groups like the community are a great place to do that. I think that's the benefit of a 12-step community like Al-Anon. I think that while I disagree with some of the semantics and the things that go on in there, I think from a validation standpoint, I think it is validating to just see other people who are going through it.
Agreed.
And that's validating. Just the community in itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And you used to say, you don't need validation. You just need to do what you
I was
feel.
in that circle for a long time.
You were in that circle for a long time until you realized, no, man, I'm going to become my best once I feel somewhat validated by who I am.
I can do a lot of good work on my own, but to really, really get there and feel it, it came from other people.
Yeah.
It did.
I mean, that's just your experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So the next one is, when is the other shoe going to drop? So based on overthinking, I know that so many people struggle with this, but all that is a trauma response. It's another way of you recognizing the patterns, and it's only, common, or it only makes sense that you are going to overthink if the other shoe is going to drop.
I agree. 1,000%. I think if you're asking the question, when is the other shoe going to drop? I would ask some questions. I would say, okay, well, what's different about this time? If your answer is nothing, the other shoe is going to drop very soon. Mm-hmm. If your answer is, well, they went to treatment for 30 days, they went to a sober living for 90 days, they're in counseling, they're working a program of some kind, they're going to a ton of meetings, I would say proceed with cautious optimism. That shoe may never drop, but it could. But the likelihood is much, 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 much lower than someone who's doing next to nothing. So the other shoe is going to drop based on the degree to which they are making real changes.
Yeah. And I'll say, in our experience, I didn't stress too much over the substances, obviously. I didn't look for your substances. I wasn't totally concerned that you were going to relapse. That wasn't part of our story because I always based our experience on behaviors. And I think that since my mind was shifted that way, it was easier for me not to stress over if you were going to relapse, because it was all about behaviors.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care if you use, I don't care if you do that stuff, as long as you don't treat me like crap. I mean, I cared, obviously.
Obviously the two go hand in hand.
They do go hand in hand,
so
but I'm
that.
just saying I didn't focus on that very much at all.
Yeah, you weren't so much concerned with, oh my God, what if he drives by a liquor store?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Or, oh my God, he's going out with friends from work and they're going to a big dinner and there's going to be alcohol there. You weren't so much concerned about those things, but you also had someone who was working in it. I know a lot of people who aren't, and I think that you're right to wonder when the other shoe is going to drop. That's not anxiety, that's pattern recognition.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, a trauma response. This is the response to the typical stimulus, which is them not doing anything, expecting something to be different this time. Mm-hmm. You're right to call it anxiety. I would say it's pattern recognition. That's a gut instinct. You know something's going to happen. Why wouldn't it?
Right.
What's different about this?
Yep.
Nothing.
All right. The next one is worrying about the drinking while they're out or when I'm not home.
Kind of along the same line.
Kind of the same lines. Yeah. And it's almost you want to, this is almost kind of wanting to control the situation, which obviously you want to control the situation because you know what happens whenever you feel like you don't control the situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really is similar to what we said before.
Yeah. This is a big one for a lot of people. It's the fear that they are not taking the recovery seriously enough to prevent relapses or these slips that come up whenever they're in these situations that they're probably not ready for. Mm-hmm. It's a scary thing to do, to kind of go hands off. It's this is a horrible thing, but this is true of having children today in 2024, sending your kids to school. Mm. There's always going to be some level of anxiety associated with that because you're just not safe anymore. There's always going to be some level of anxiety, maybe for you, about me getting injured and the prospect of me being in a lot of pain and being around pills or something like that.
Yes, but I'm not going to address that until it happens. I can't. I know myself. I don't want to overdo it. So I do kind of stop my overthinking with that.
Yeah. And I totally understand why spouses and partners want to control the scene. Like I get it. The only time that your safety is even somewhat guaranteed in your relationship, your emotional safety, is when you are managing this thing like crazy. When you're really putting a lot of effort in to make sure that this person is doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
Because otherwise it doesn't happen. But that is not sustainable.
No. And most of the time it doesn't, they're still going to do what they want to do anyway.
We get really creative, don't we?
Yeah. You
Man,
get so creative.
We will find ways.
It doesn't even matter.
No, you can drug test us.
Yeah, you can do
breathalyze us.
all of those things. But if they want to find a way to do it, they're going to do it.
Man,
so you're just exhausting yourself.
Like I've told addicts before, like if you put 10% of the effort into staying sober and being a better person as you did getting high, like you would win a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Within 5 years of getting sober. We put so much effort into deceiving others. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
All right. The next one is overthinking the tone of his voice. Did he intend to sound mean or dismissive, or am I hearing something that's not there?
Go.
No, you go ahead on this one.
This is an interesting one. Micro expressions are something that couples oftentimes pick up on. The tone of a voice, the look in your eyes. We see these things, but we're not always cognizant that we're doing it. Like I don't.
We don't
realize,
have the self-awareness.
I don't. I don't realize. Like you always think I roll my eyes, and I'm not rolling my eyes. I don't even know how to do that. But you're being dismissive. You're rolling your eyes. It's a micro expression you can see. Right. So, are you overthinking the tone of their voice? Okay. First of all, I want to tell you, like as guys, we're not thinking too hard about this stuff.
No.
Like
you're simple creatures deep down.
For the most part, right? For the most part, I would say that, like I'm not going to try in a calculated way to throw in a passive aggressive dig. I'm just not going to do that. If I have a problem, most of the time I'm just going to say I have a problem with something or bringing up, to intend to sound mean or dismissive. So this is where intention comes into play. I don't think that most addicts intend to do much of anything. I don't think that we intend to hurt anybody. I don't think that we intend to become addicts in the first place. I don't think that we intend on lying to anyone when we get up in the morning. It just becomes a survival mechanism in order to keep the addiction going.
Right.
So did they intend to do it? Not necessarily. Does that mean make it okay? No, not really. But here's a funny story. I know this person in recovery, and he came home. He's been sober like 6 months now, doing really, really well. Super proud of him and his wife, doing really well. He came home and he has male version of resting bitch face. Mm-hmm. So what is that? Resting butch face, we'll call it. Resting butch face. So he has resting butch face. So he comes home and she's really quiet. She's like, I thought that you were mad or something. He's like, no, I'm fine. But he understands why this is happening. And like he did a really awesome job about talking through it, because she sees that micro expression, the dismissiveness, the look on his face, attributes it to his past behaviors of being angry, mean, dismissive, invalidating, all those things. They just had a conversation about it and laughed about it a little bit, but also understood that he needs to be more aware of this.
Yeah.
And then now that there's sobriety in the home, they can talk about it. She can say from now on, I don't know if they're actually going to do this, but I encourage it. Hey, the look on your face sort of tells me that you're bothered. Is everything okay? And then he can turn around and say either yes or no. Over time, having these conversations over and over and over again is going to help that person reestablish what the norms are in your expressions, in the relationship,
you're changing the patterns
and everything else.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let this dog out real quick.
Okay.
Hang on. Come on, baby girl. Okay. Perfect time.
Yeah, that was good. All right, well, I'm going to go on to this next one. Is it better to stay because leaving will make the addiction worse?
Is it better to stay because leaving will make the addiction worse? Man, that's $1 million question.
Yeah, because we don't really know, it can go both ways. It can go many ways. Like sometimes leaving saves a life. Sometimes it makes it worse for a time frame. Like we've heard people where addiction was ramped up for like 6 months until they hit their rock bottom after they left. And then they realized, oh, wow, I really need to do something about it.
And full disclosure, some people, they do get worse than ever, and some lose their lives.
Yes. Like that's the reality of it. But as easy as, I mean, as hard as it is to say this, like, it's not your responsibility to make sure their addiction is, it's not yours. It's not yours to hold. It's not yours to carry.
Yeah, I've got personal experience with this. I have people that I love in addiction that have tried to hurt themselves. I have worked with people and known them intimately, personally, that have killed themselves. So I've seen it. I've seen how this unfolds. I've also seen people who had someone leave and they got sober and they're happy today. So I've seen all three. I've seen people get worse. I've seen people get better. I've seen people end their life. Here's what I know about addiction is that it is progressive in nature, and that unless there is a significant intervention of some kind, and I don't mean like intervention, like let's all sit down and tell them how much we love them. I mean, on the part of the addicted person to make significant changes, it will get worse over time, not better. Here's what I ask people. Do you want to read about it in the paper, or do you want a front row seat? That's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Do you want a front row seat to watch how this unfolds? Do you want to be part of it as it's happening? Because it's going to happen one way or another. Now, could it accelerate whenever you leave? It could. But you'll read about it in the paper. Mm-hmm. You won't be there in the experience of it all. You have little to no effect on whether or not this person actually gets sober. Actually do the work. You cannot take them to a meeting and make them read the book and make them call a sponsor and make them work the steps or do anything like that. You can't make them go to therapy. You can't sit there and make sure that they're listening and processing what the therapist is saying or put that stuff into practice. You can't do it for them.
Right.
So you're sort of a prisoner of what their actions might be, but I can guarantee you that they're going to do what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. This has been proven more times than I can count with my own experience and the experience of other people that I've worked with, is that we do what we do. We're going to do what we're going to do until we're done.
Yes, I know this.
Some people never make it out. Yeah. So is it better to stay? Not necessarily. It's not.
Right.
It's, do you want a front row seat or do you want to read about it in the paper?
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to for me anyway.
Okay. The next one is this my fault? A lot of people overthink if all of this is your fault. And no, it is not your fault. I know why you feel like it could be your fault from so many different angles. The person that you're with may be blaming you and telling you it's your fault all the time. You have, different programs that kind of put it on you as well. And like, well, this is what you're doing and this is partially your fault and whatnot, but it's not your fault. It is not your fault. It is so complex. These relationships are just, it's so complicated when you're in it that it's hard to see the reality of it, but I can just tell you it's not.
We've talked about this, so it's not new to me, but let's go through. At any point, did you feel like that your responses or the way you treated me or some of the things that you got mad at me about led me further down the path?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you felt like you contributed to it?
I do, because I had reactions. And everyone tells you, well, you can only focus on your reactions and, all these things. But it's like, I wouldn't have reacted this way had I not been threatened.
That's interesting. From a perspective of like, what does it take to keep my side of the street clean? Like, almost like, what does it make it easier for me to sleep at night? I think when we focus really hard on our responses to other people, keeping our side of the street clean, it helps us sleep at night. Like, I didn't contribute to that.
Yes.
But from an addiction, I think that I was going to do what I was going to do.
Yep. It didn't matter what my responses were. It was always going to be turned. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Your responses could certainly put me in a position where I was more angry or more disturbed and I would want to get loaded or something. But I was going to get loaded one way or another.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now I have you to blame.
Yeah.
So I think it more boils down to that. Like, do you want that on you where they can come back? Because, dude, we're good at doing this. Like, it's your fault. It's your fault that I did X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. You didn't make it easier on me. You're making me want to drink. That makes me want to throw a chair when someone says that.
Yeah, because they're going to do it no matter what. No matter what your reaction is, they're going to do it.
Your inability to process stress and anything else is the reason you want to drink, right?
Yes.
If it's not from her, it's from someone else. It's
You're
your
find
boss.
something.
It's the IRS letter in the mailbox. It's whatever. Mm-hmm. You name it. Yep. We'll find something.
Yep.
We'll find something. But I wouldn't think too terribly hard unless you're just now. Okay, so let's like play devil's advocate for a moment.
Okay.
Someone that is constantly on someone's ass about what they're drinking, how much, when's the last time you drank, have you taken your medication today? Like they become like a case manager for this person, like a nurse.
Okay.
Constantly like nagging
Mm-hmm.
to the point where you're not even really like, you don't look at someone as a spouse anymore. It's more like, dude, this is like an authority figure that I can't stand.
Mm-hmm.
And makes things worse. Like, do you think that it's okay for people to put themselves into that authority figure, almost like I'm responsible for your sobriety type of lane?
No, but I think a lot of people do it because they feel like they need to do something to protect themselves, and that's how they feel like they have a sense of control when in reality they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. It's interesting. I think we can all be better. Like, people in Al-Anon are like, well, I've got my own stuff. You do. My contention's always been, it's much less of a part than you think it is.
Yes, it is.
But the way you talk to people does matter. The way that you approach things does matter. When it comes to any problem you have, addiction or any other issue, it's not nice to shame people. It's not nice to belittle them or berate them or to call them names or any of the above things. It's not nice. That's not a healthy way necessarily even to process or problem solve or conflict resolution, is to, you're the reason I do this. I can't stand you. If you were only better. That doesn't help. It certainly doesn't help. But we're going to do what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I still think that no matter what you do, you're still going to do what you're going to do.
I do think you give yourself a better chance at sleeping well at night, and you give them a better chance at not being, or at seeing what the real problem is when you're responding the right way.
Well, I think you're able to see it with more clarity whenever you don't respond that way, because then there is no fuel to give them.
Exactly.
And it's protecting yourself.
So let's remove the variable kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah. But either way, even if you don't react, they're still going to do something.
Yes. That's the
whole purpose. But
you have to let them figure that out.
You have to let them figure that out. And that's why we tell you not to justify, argue, defend, or explain. It's not because you're fueling the fire. It's because I want you to see this situation for what it is and know that you're not at fault. Because if you do yell at them, they're going to do it. If you don't, they're going to do it.
Yeah, here's something I've seen. I've had like guys tell me like, my wife is the reason I drink. If you had my wife, you would drink too. Okay. So either the wife leaves or we can work with the wife and get her on the same page about how to talk with someone who's in active addiction, how to support someone who's trying to get sober. And then the wife becomes a non-issue here. The wife is doing amazing. Like she is doing everything she's supposed to do. And then the addicted person will call me, for instance, and it's like, now it's my boss. I'm like, that's a bitch, isn't it? If it's not one thing, it's like whack-a-mole. It's always something with you.
Yep.
It's always, so you can remove all the variables and find that the result is still going to be the same. You're still going to want to use over something.
Right.
Most of the time.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So we already kind of answered that question and we kind of have to go. So can I close this out for one thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I kind of had a realization last week in the group when I was discussing this with some of the wheelies, and a lot of us in these relationships have no choice but to overthink because we don't have an equal partner. We carry the load of everything while they get to be selfish or do whatever they're doing. And the only way to make sure that, shit gets done, we overthink. We take on everything. We have to have structure. We have to have these rules. We have to have like all of these guidances, like to make sure that shit gets done because we know that we can't depend on our partner to do it. And that's why we overthink.
Absolutely. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Like, you're not broken. You're not broken. You're not, it's a feature. It's not like a problem. It's a feature.
Yeah.
It's like evolutionary processes have played into this too. Mm-hmm. What's the benefit of this being passed down? Someone who can think forward in the future, predict what's going to happen, recognize patterns, think about the possible scenarios of what could go wrong, like risk assessment, social navigation, problem solving, anxiety regulation, anticipation of future needs. These are all qualities that you would want someone to have in your pack.
Yes.
Not a bad thing. And you're sort of pinned into this corner where you're forced to do it.
Yeah.
It's not like people wake up one day, it's like, you know what I want to do? I want to be a control freak. That
right.
sounds really fun. Like, who wants to do that?
No, you have no choice. It's how you're surviving and getting through the day.
Yeah.
So I hope this episode was helpful.
I do too.
I think that we
I think it's repackaging of some like similar information we've had before. But anytime you can repackage it and give it to someone in a new way, I think that's what makes us better teachers.
Agreed.
And makes the information new.
Yeah.
So
all right,
let's do it. Let's
Sounds
finish
good.
it up. All right. Well, thank you for being here with us. Again, thank you so much for being part of this thing. Getting 100,000 downloads was awesome. Give me a fist bump real quick. Freaking great. Great work, Boo. All right. Until next time, I am Matt.
I'm Paige.
And we'll see you.
Bye.